Hello and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be working on number of students unable to eat lunch. And in this problem you have a school cafeteria that serves circular and square sandwiches that are represented by zeros and ones. So a student with a 1 prefers eating a 1, a student with a 0 prefers to eat the 0, and those are the only ones they can eat. And so your sandwiches are in order. So this is the first sandwich, this is the second sandwich, and so on. And you can't eat the next sandwich without eating the first one. And your students are in a queue, so this is the first one, and so on. So if the first student can eat the first sandwich, they will, and then they both get removed. And if the first student can't eat this first sandwich, then they will move to the back of the line, and then the second student will try, and so on, until you basically get to the point where no one can eat the sandwich. So let's walk through this first example just to demonstrate it. So this top thing is students and this bottom thing is sandwiches. So we can write that down. So students, and then we'll call this like sandwiches. Okay. So the first student can't eat the first sandwich because they're not the same. So they will just go to the back of the line. So I guess I'm gonna have to move this, but it's fine. I'll move this like over here. Okay. Then the first student still can't eat the first sandwich, so we're going to move him to the back of the line. Now the first student can eat the first sandwich, so we will just get rid of them. Then the first student can't eat the first sandwich, so we'll move them to the back of the line. Now they match, so we will get rid of them. Now they can't, so we'll go to the back of the line. Now they match, and finally they match, so everyone can eat. Okay. And let's go through the second example. So in the second example, it's going to be similar. So let's just copy. Let's see, there's 6 sandwiches. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And get rid of this. And let's move this over here and this over here. So we have 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1. And this is the important one. And if you're new to LeetCode, this is going to be good to like figure out what information you need and what information you don't. And try to figure out like what's the minimum information I need to solve the problem, so I don't have to waste my time doing a bunch of stuff I don't care about. So here they match, so you can eat this one. So here they don't. So both of these two won't match, so they'll both go to the back of the line. Now we have a match, and we have another match. And now this sandwich 0 doesn't have any people with a 0. So this is kind of the key to this problem is you don't really care about the order of your students because you're not asked like how long does it take. You're just asked how many students don't get to eat, right? And you basically need to figure out, okay, like at what point am I not going to be able to eat a sandwich? It's when I have some number and then I have no students of that number. Because like if this was a 0 but I had just a 0 anywhere, eventually my student with 0 would be able to eat it, right? You're just going to like move these around until it's possible. So that's kind of the idea. So all we have to do is instead of like doing this whole queue stuff, we don't need any of that. So this is unnecessary. All we really need is the number of students who can eat a sandwich with a 1. So let's call that ones. And the number of sandwich who can eat a sandwich, or number of students who can eat a sandwich with a 0. And then we just go through the sandwiches. And like if we have a 1, then we subtract 1 from our students who can eat a 1, right? Because one of those is going to eat it. And if we ever get to a point where there are no students left for this particular sandwich, that's going to be the point where we're done. And so we can just walk through and like for each sandwich subtract for one of these. If we're able to go through the whole thing and do that, that means that there's no students that don't have to eat. But let's say we get to like this in our case and we can't eat here. So how many students can't eat? Well, it's just going to be the rest of the people starting at this current index. And that's basically it. So now it allows us to do this a lot better, right? We don't need queues or anything. We don't need to move anything. All we just need is a number of students that can eat each sandwich. And we know as long as there's at least one that can eat the sandwich that is at the top, eventually they will, and I don't care about the time. So you minimize the information you use and you maximize the speed of your function. And so that's what we're going to do. So we're just going to record the number of students who can eat a 1, the number of students who can eat a 0, and then we'll go through the sandwiches and see, like, we'll just decrement the appropriate one. And then if we ever get to one that can't be eaten, like let's say we get to here, then we know everything from here won't be eaten. And if we get through all the sandwiches, then we know that we just return 0 because everyone was fed. So let's do that. So we'll have two integers, 1s and 0s. And yeah, if you're new to LeetCode, this is like one of the main things for problems is figure out unnecessary information. How do I get rid of it? And how do I get my result with the minimal amount of things possible? Minimum space, minimum time, fastest thing you can. Okay, so now we'll walk through our students. So we can say if student equals 1, then we'll increment ones. Otherwise it's 0. Okay. So then we are going to walk through our sandwiches now, and we actually need an index here, so we'll just use an index. Alternatively, if you don't want an index, you could like keep track, but I'll just use an index. It's less than. So let's actually make a variable for this. So we'll call this like s, so we have shorter. Okay, so I is less than s, and I plus plus. So for every sandwich, we just check, can it be eaten? So if sandwiches. Also, another trick you can use is you can actually just change these names to make it shorter. So instead of sandwiches, you can call it like s and this like t or something if you just want shorter variable names. So if sandwiches I equals 0 and we have a 0, right? So and zeros is greater than 0, then we will just decrement from zeros. Same exact thing for ones. So this will be else if. So if this is 1 and this is ones, whoops. This is ones. Then this is all the same. And then our last case is we can't eat the sandwich, which means we can't eat this one and the rest of it. And so here we can just return. So if you think about it, like let's say we have 5 sandwiches and we're on index 0 and we can't eat it. What should we return? We should return 5, right? If we have 5 sandwiches and we're on index 1 and we can't eat it, we ate 1, so we should return 4 and so on. So it becomes pretty apparent that we just want to return s minus I, is how many sandwiches can't be eaten. And if we are able to make it through this loop successfully, that means everyone got a sandwich, so we just return 0. And there we go. So yeah, this is a good problem for like introduction to LeetCode, how to get rid of unnecessary stuff. Because if you're new to it, you might be like, oh, maybe I'll just like run this queue and then see what happens. But then you realize like, oh, well, actually I don't need any of that. All I need to know is for the current sandwiches, is there one person who can eat it? If there is, then I can just decrement there. I don't need to like do the whole simulation. But yeah, if they ask you like what's the time it takes for everyone to eat, then you either have to do a simulation or something more complicated. So, but in this one you don't. So in this case, time will be, so we have to go through our students and sandwiches. So let's call students maybe like ST, and then we'll call sandwiches like SA or something. So it's basically like this. Worst case scenario, every student can eat every sandwich. And space, and this is the other thing, is you want to try to use as little space as possible. So with this, we just have 2 variables, or 3 variables, which is really good, instead of making queues, which would be O of n. So yeah, that's going to be all for this one. And if you have any questions, as always, then write in the comments and like and subscribe if this is helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.